Hello everybody, welcome to this class. Today we're going to do class number 3 or 4 of this 4 series of Vinyasa Flow Conditioning. And today we're going to focus on the hips. So we're going to focus more on the hugging and the stabilizing the hips with all the muscle groups that surrounds the hips. So let's go ahead and start, and I thank you for practicing with me and being here with me. Let's go ahead on our backs and feel free to keep the knees bent. Just give yourself a moment here to arrive to your body. You can rest your hands on your thighs. Just make sure the shoulders are relaxed and resting the elbows down into the floor. And just take a moment here to simply start to let go of the day. Whatever it is that you were doing before you got into your mat, put a pause to it. Truly embracing this moment right now. Reconnecting to your breath deeply through the nose, inhaling, and full on exhale. Just a couple more breaths, nice and slow. Inhale through the nose. Let it all the way in. And then as you exhale, let everything out, let it out. Start to notice that expansion of your belly and your chest as you breathe in. And a full-on exhale, letting everything just feel a little bit more relaxed. We're gonna hug now both knees to the chest, and we're just gonna gently rock side to side. Just give yourself permission to just add some extra weight on the lower back so you can feel your body weight on the back. Good. We're gonna extend that left leg all the way down in front of you. You're gonna extend your right leg all the way up towards the ceiling. You're gonna point and flex your feet. You're gonna move the ankle in circles. Just give yourself a moment here to feel your leg. And then we're gonna do kind of gentle circles with your legs. We're just gonna get into the hip sockets in here. For some reason, my camera gets a little blurry in the evening, so I hope you can continue follow along with my voice. And then circle size, and just try to be kind in your movement, because you might feel that, something might be tracking, which is fine, but we just want to be mindful and careful with our movement. Good, and then bend that knee into the chest. Place your right hand on top of it and just move that knee in gentle circles now. So we're getting a little bit more into the hip socket joints. And maintain that opposite leg really strong, anchoring you down. Your belly is pressing in. And then switch direction of that circle with your legs. Continue staying connected to your breath. Good, and then gently release that right leg in front of you and take a pause here to notice the difference between right and left. We're just gonna do that exactly on the other side. So take an inhale, reach your left leg all the way up. Point and flex, move it in circles, opposite direction. Just almost like awakening, right? The muscle flex. It's almost impossible to work on the hips without focusing on the legs or the lower back. It's all connected. And then you're gonna do those gentle circles with your legs. And if you need to keep that knee micro bend, that's all good. You don't have to have that straight leg. And you're gonna switch direction with that circle. Good. And then we're gonna hug the knee into our chest. And we're gonna place the left hand on top of that knee and just move it in circles as we try to anchor the best we can with our strength on the right side of the body, as that left leg or knee is kind of moving in circles to just hydrate the hip joints and then switch direction of that circle. Good. Then very slowly continue moving with the breath, and then extend that leg all the way in front of you. Just checking my notes just to make sure we're covering everything I designed for this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extend both legs all the way up towards the ceiling once again. And we're going to practice something that is called the internal rotation and external rotation of the femur, which is that muscle from the knee to the hip. And that muscle gets into the hip socket. And that's what's going to be able to activate certain muscles on the other hip muscles to activate stabilization on the hips. So external rotation is pointing the toes out to the side. So you're feeling the knees pointing out and that bone or the thighs are rotating out to the side, correct? And then internal rotation, we're bringing those toes coming into each other so the inner thighs are drawing in. We're just going to practice that one more time. External rotation, internal rotation. One more, keep the belly drawn to the chest, to the spine, and external rotation, internal rotation. Just one more inhale, external rotation. Good, and internal rotation, and then find that neutrality on the hip and the legs, and then hug the knees and just gently, once again, soften tension and reconnect to your breath. Let's go into our tabletop. So you're welcome to roll into one side or roll back and forth. You choose whichever choice feels more nourishing to you. Once you find your tabletop, I'm going to come into our hands and knees, spreading the fingers wide. And keeping the toes tucked under is going to help you to kind of also engage your feet. Let's just do 2 rounds of cat-cow. So we're going to neutralize the lower back. We're going to round and push the spine. And then letting the head drop. Taking a moment here as you inhale. Start moving from the tailbone. And then as you open the heart, bring the gaze halfway up. Exhale, round and push. Inhale, lifting and arching, finding that cow. Good. Find that neutral spine for a moment. And what I want you to do is come into your forearms and interlace the fingers here. Okay? What we're going to do here, we're going to open that right knee out to the side. It's an external rotation without collapsing the weight on the left side. So it's going to look something like this. You're going to stabilize through the shoulders, apply all the knowledge that you have learned on previous class. So head of the shoulder, back, stabilize. And then we're gonna open that right knee out to the side and close it back to center. And out to the side and close it back. And as you open the knees right to the side, lean into that right elbow so you're not collapsing on the left. And then bring it down. And out and in. And out and in. And just take a moment here to shake out the shoulders back and forth. And we're just gonna do that on the other side. I might have to move my blocks, but go ahead. When you feel ready, open the leg out to the side and then bring it in and take a long breath in, leaning into that left elbow and in and out. And in, and out, and in. One more. Good. And then roll back and forth and just take a moment here. We're just warming up those outer hip muscles. We're just going to go now into our tabletop. And we're just going to do that exactly, but now we're a little farther away from the floor. Once again, just notice the tendency of the body to compensate. And lean into the opposite so you can find that balance. Are you ready? Belly in, inhale out, bring it in, and out, and in, out, and in, out, and in. One more, and in. Take a moment here. Reconnect to the breath, and let's try it on the other side. Inhale out and in, out and in, out and in, out and in, and last one, out and in. And come back into your child's pose, keeping the knees together, walking the hands in front of you and just dropping the chest into your thighs, and you're welcome to rest the forehead on your mat. Take a deep, long inhale through the nose. Full on exhale. One more breath in. And then as you exhale, come all the way up into your seated. And we're going to do something, continue to warm up the body for what's coming. It's all about hogging the hips in. So we're going to lay on our right side. And you can place your elbow in such a way that your hand can be supported. And your head can be supported by your hand. That bottom leg is bended. And then we're gonna hover that top leg and try to squeeze the belly in and try to lengthen through the sacrum so you are not feeling arch of the lower back. And we're just gonna do a gently open down. We want to engage those outer hip muscles that are responsible to stabilize your hip. So every time we are standing on one foot, these muscles have to engage to hug the hips in so we're not sagging into the hip joints. So what happened is, because we sit for so long nowadays, our glutes are a little weak, and the glutes are part of the muscle group that stabilize the hip. So this is a good way to awaken them. And you might feel like you're not doing much, but trust me, isolated movement, targeting specific muscle groups, it's the way to go. So just a couple more breaths. I know you're feeling it. And just take a break. Let's do that on the other side. So you can just flip yourself. I'll keep facing the camera because it's easier. So remember, the bottom leg is bended. Make sure your head is rested in a comfortable way. Engaging the core. Lengthen through the sacrum. Right? And then we're going to hover the top leg for a moment. Connect to the breath. And then we're going to do that gentle popping up and down. Just breathing. Don't even think about it. Breathing in through the nose. Breathing out through the nose. And keep kicking through that right heel so that extended leg feels a little bit more engaged on the quadriceps. One more breath. One exhale. And last one. And then slowly release. How are you feeling? Let's go into our first downward facing dog. And just keep the blocks nearby. If you have two blocks, grab them. If you have one, it's fine. Or anything that can simulate a block, okay? So take your time here in your first downward facing dog. And feel free to kind of bend the knees one at a time. Just playing with the back of the legs muscles as you strengthen them and stretch them. Just kind of be mindful of pushing the floor away with your hands and your feet. Just take a moment here. Just settle in and just feel the body in your first inversion, connecting to the breath. Just gonna do a little bit of half sun salutations. Take an inhale, bend the knees, look forward. And as you exhale, you're gonna walk or jump to the top of your mat. Once you reach the top, take an inhale, lengthen halfway up. And as you exhale, slowly forward fold. Try that again. Inhale, come all the way up to standing, reaching arms overhead. And then exhale slowly. Feel free to bend the knees, drop the head down, and bring the gaze in between your knees. Inhale, lengthen, come all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. And then as you exhale, release your hands, bend the knees. We're gonna step back into our downward facing dog. Give yourself a moment here to feel the body in your downward facing dog. Stay with your breath. Good. And then in your next breath in, find your first plank. Modify it if you need to as you rock the shoulders forward, level the pelvis. Keep your heels high. And then exhale back into downward facing dog. Take a look at your feet. And your next breath in, slowly engage the core to lift the hips a little bit higher. And then walk the hands one at a time to the back of your mat. And then bend the knees slightly and just grab opposite elbows and rock side to side. Just gently stretching the back of the leg, the lower back, softening the head. Feel free to shake the head yes or no. And then slowly release the hands and we're gonna come all the way up to standing, reaching arms overhead. Give yourself a moment. And then exhale, release the hands by your side. We're just gonna go straight into our first tree pose. We're gonna hug the hips here, right? So spread your toes very wide and keep your feet as wide as your hips. We're gonna bend the right knee and notice right away the tendency to either hike or to dump into the hips, right? So if you're dumping the hips, it's gonna look like this. So that means you gotta hug this one in to help you find that balance. And if you're hiking, bring that knee, that pelvis to balance so the hip bones are making some horizontal line. And as you flex that knee, external rotation without going with it, try to keep the hips forward because that's that femur connecting to the hips, externally rotating. So you gotta hug it in and rest that foot somewhere on the left leg. So that right foot and the left leg are really pressing into each other, and find any variation with your hands. You can go into a subtle tree pose just like I'm doing. We'll go all the way up by bringing the heels into the inner thigh. We're just gonna gently stay here because I want you to develop that awareness of what it means to keep the pelvis level and equally hugging the hips as you lengthen through the spine here and shoulders relax. Good, and then gently release that external rotation, shake it out and come back to your feet. How about that? Let's do that on the other side. So feel the weight on the right foot. Get ready to cinch in from the waist so you can flex that left knee. And find your tree pose as you maintain your pelvis forward and rest that foot below or above the knee. Just as you anchor your heels and your feet down, you gotta grow taller through the crown of the head. So finding a focus with your eyes, your drishti, it's gonna help you to find that balance, that perfect balance between effort and letting go. Just a couple more breaths in here. Beautiful. And slowly take your time to flex the knee again forward and then slowly let it go. Perfect. Let's take a moment here to grab a block and we're gonna continue working on those hip stabilizers. And if you don't have a block, maybe you can grab a book for this one or something that simulates the block. We're gonna place it on the ground, on your mat, and you're gonna step on your right foot on that block. Okay, so this is gonna bring you more of a sense of deep in the hips and here hugging so you can balance the hips so the left foot is hovering right next to the right. And you're gonna swing that left leg back and forth without letting the hips to collapse. You gotta really imagine that you're hugging yourself. In fact, place your hands right there and hug yourself. Hug the hips in here as you rock, as you move your leg back and forth. Then do some small circles in here. Starting to feel already the heat in my hips. And then switch direction with that circle. It's all good. This is helping you to strengthen those outer hip muscles. And then release, shake it out. Maybe you feel something, maybe you don't. I just have an early workout on my legs. My legs are a little sensitive. Let's do the other side. So come into your block on the left foot. Settle the hips and then keep your right foot hovering right next to the left. And then we're gonna move that leg back and forth. And just notice the patterns if you tend to collapse on the hips and try to hug it in. And then just kind of small circles on one direction. Continue breathing. And then slowly we're gonna switch direction with the circles. These are the drills that are helping you to build that strength, right? It's not all about flexibility. Wonderful. And then slowly release. Come back to your mat and remove the block for now. What we're gonna do now, we're just gonna simply reach the arms overhead and find your full extension of Urdhva Hastasana. And then forward fold. Take your time there. Just let everything drop. Take an inhale, lengthen halfway up. And if you are in the center of your mat like I am, bend the knees, walk the hands forward, and step your feet back into downward facing dog. Take a full breath in here. One exhale. Bring your left foot in the center of the back of your mat and extend your right leg up and back in your three-legged dog. Now open the right hip and bend the top knee and squeeze that heel into your body. And push the floor away with your hands and see if you can engage that left thigh to press you back. Maybe that left heel feels more heavy towards the floor. Let's try that one more time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, extend the top leg, square the hips, and bring that right foot forward between the hands for your high lunge with your fingertips on the floor. Just give yourself a moment here to settle the fingers. Just give yourself a moment. Now from here, we're gonna grab our blocks, and I want you to press them right in front of you. Okay, so from your high lunge, you're pressing your hands on the block and you're leveling the pelvis. So again, right hip towards the center of the mat. Take one more breath in here. Good, and then as you exhale, nice and slow, come all the way up into your high lunge. So just to get into that transition, we're gonna release the hands into the block and shift your weight into your hands and find into that warrior three. Okay, so right hip, I'm kicking it out, bring it into the center of the mat. And the back leg is internally rotating. Good, bend the right knee and bring that left knee next to the right and drop the foot for chair pose. So sit a little deeper here. Good, and then slowly you're gonna bring the hands into your hips and you're gonna extend that left foot back. Make sure you're tippy toes and then bring it in. Tippy toes and bring it in into knee to knee. So we're strengthening once again that right outer hip. Let's try that two more times. Tippy toes and then bring knee to knee. Last one, tippy toes, bring knee to knee. Then release that left foot into your chair pose, inhale. And take a long full exhale, forward fold. And just notice how that gentle drill can activate those hips, right? Take an inhale, lengthen halfway up. As you exhale, release the hands, step back into your plank. Full inhaling plank. Now you can use the blocks in here to support your chaturanga on your shoulders or drop the knees. It's going to chaturanga dandasana. Just let it feel good. Good, and then inhale, open the chest. Nice, and then exhale back to downward facing dog. And take a couple breaths to settle in before we go into the other side. Breathing in, breathing out. Bring your right foot into the center of the back of your mat and extend your left leg up and back for three-legged dog. And then open that top knee and open that left knee, the hip, and bend the top knee. And my mind got a little funny there. So we're down in our twisted downward facing dog with a little bit of external rotation of that top hip. Just keep your breath flowing. One more inhale. As you exhale, extend that top leg, square your hips and find your high lunge with your feet. Keep your hands down. Give yourself a moment here to settle the pelvis, right? You can transfer your hands into that block just to keep the legs a little bit more engaged. And then slowly from here, come all the way up into your high lunge, arms overhead. Find your balance. Let go of any tension in your face. As you exhale, we're gonna release the hands into the blocks and we're gonna transfer that weight into that left foot for warrior three. So once again, that right leg is internally rotating and we're hogging that left hip to the center of your mat. Bend the left knee and then bring that right knee next to the left for your chair pose. We're gonna sit and reach in the arms overhead. And then bring your hands into your hips and we're gonna extend the right tippy toes behind us and then bring it in, knee to knee, extend the toes, knee to knee, exhale, extend, inhale, knee to knee. And we're just gonna do 3 more rounds like this. Breathe in. And on the last one, knee to knee, release the foot into your chair pose, inhale. And then exhale, forward fold. So as you can see, these drills are designed to help you build that strength and muscle memory. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. As you exhale, release the hands, step back into your plank. Full breath in. You can drop the knees here, find your chaturanga dandasana. And then inhale, your cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Let's give yourself a moment here in downward facing dog. Good. So again, inhale, bring your left foot in the back center of the mat. Right leg up and back. Inhale, three-legged dog. As you exhale, bring your right foot into that high lunge. Arms overhead. Now, as you exhale here, I'm gonna switch sides. We're gonna come into our warrior two. So that left heel is gonna drop. You're gonna open the arms out to the side. So, notice if your right hip is tilting forward, try to lift it so the shoulders are right above the hips, extending the arms out to the side. Front leg slightly spreading out, rotation. Reverse the warrior, right palm up, reaching up and back. Keep bending the front knee. Exhale, warrior two. Hands into the hips, square, then lifting the back heel back into the high lunge. Arms overhead, inhale. And then exhale, release the hands into your blocks. And transfer into that warrior three again. I lost my balance. And I'm moving my blocks this way. So here in your warrior three, take one more breath in. And then exhale, tap the knee to knee. And then release the toes back, knee to knee, toes back, knee to knee, toes back, knee to knee. Chair pose, inhale, and then exhale, forward fold. You might have start to feel the muscles here. Take an inhale, lengthen halfway up. You have an option to do a vinyasa or simply step back into downward facing dog. Just gonna move myself back into the other side as we prepare for the left. So if you're doing a vinyasa, take your time. Just be mindful of the movement, connecting to the breath. And if you're in downward facing dog, just take a moment here to settle, to drop all any judgments, and to become more present as you are in the practice. Bring your left foot all the way up and back for three-legged dog. And then as you exhale, find your high lunge. Take your time in doing those smooth transitions. Inhale. And then exhale, dropping the back heel, finding that warrior two, right? So check the pelvis, relaxing the shoulders, reaching arms up to the side. As you exhale, reversing the warrior. So left hand is reaching up and back, side bending on the left. Come back, warrior two, inhale. As you exhale, squaring the hips forward, back into that high lunge. And you might have to adjust your body. Releasing the hands into the block, transferring to warrior three. Breathing in, breathing out. And then bring that knee to knee. Exhale, toes back, knee to knee. Exhale, toes back, knee to knee. One more breath. Good, and then bring the hands, the foot back next to the left. Come all the way into your chair pose. Inhale. And then exhale, forward fold. Good, take an inhale here. Now as you exhale, bring your toes out to the side and find your malasana. So we're gonna drop the pelvis down. And if you need support, you can sit on top of a block or roll your mat for your heels. Bring the upper arms inside your knees to push the knees away from each other. Your palms are coming together in the center of your heart, so you can squeeze the knees in, but you're lengthening through the spine. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. One more breath. Good, and then slowly from here, we're gonna come all the way into seated, but then we're gonna roll the spine back and keep the knees bent for a moment here. Just give yourself a moment to settle into the practice here. Good. Bring your right foot on top of that left leg. And let's do a pigeon, right? So now let's just stretch the outer hips because we've been strengthening. So let's find that balance. Hug the left knee to the chest and press gently your right knee away from your chest. Excuse me. Just take a moment here to just notice and feel how the body is feeling in this type of practices. It's flowing and drilling, repetition, so the muscles are getting more active. There is more awareness of how it's engaged in the process of moving the body from one asana to the next. And then slowly switching side, take your time, crossing your left leg on top of the right, hug the right knee to the chest, and pressing that left knee forward. Give yourself here a moment to settle in any judgment in the head. Reconnect to the body in a kind, non-judgmental way. And then release both feet on the ground, and we're gonna come into bridge. So we're strengthening now a little bit the inner glutes and the outer glutes. So make sure your feet are as wide as your hips. And we're gonna lift the chest to roll the shoulder blades in. And when you're ready, pressing the feet down and the shoulders down, we're gonna lift the hips all the way up and interlace the fingers underneath you. And imagine you have a block in between the inner thigh. And bring the chest towards the back as you lift the hips up. And just stay here for a couple breaths. Keep your gaze to the belly. And slowly release the hips and come back into a moment for resting. You can rest the knees against each other. Just give yourself a moment to observe this pose in your body. And let's just try that once again. So we're gonna tuck the shoulders in. We're gonna prepare our feet and our legs. Whenever you feel ready, if you want to place a block in between the inner thighs, that's a good idea. Or if you have a cushion or something that you can squeeze in, and find your bridge pose. Just 3 rounds of breath. And then gently come all the way back down. And just hug the knees to your chest. And gently rock side to side. Good, and then we're gonna come into Baddha Konasana, so the heels to touch and knees are gonna spread out to the side. Okay, so we're gonna stay here for just a little bit as we're gonna do some variations. Bring the hands above the head and then rest the hands behind your head so they're making a pillow for your head. A little bit of shoulder stretch. Now bring the knees halfway up. It's almost like you're trying to squeeze something in between the inner thigh. Continue squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then slowly come halfway down. And then bring the knees up and imagine you're squeezing something in between the legs here. So we're trying to engage the inner thigh. And then release and come halfway down with your knees and then come all the way halfway up and squeeze the inner thigh. And just hold it here. We're just gonna do that a couple more times. Release halfway down and then come halfway up, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Just a deep stretch of the ankle joints as well. And then slowly come halfway down and then squeeze all halfway up. And then slowly come halfway down, and we have one more last time. Squeeze halfway up. And last one, exhale, release all the way down into full Baddha Konasana. Feel that inner thigh stretch. If you were squeezing enough as you come halfway up, you're gonna feel those inner thighs getting a little bit awakened there. Feel free to just give them some nice massage with your fingers if that feels right. Good, and then bring the hands below your knees to close them, bring them together and hug them to your chest. Nice. Just a couple more breaths here. And then we're gonna extend those legs in front of you all the way to the ceiling. And you're gonna cross your right leg on top of the left and bend the knees here for a moment. So you have your right leg crossed and you're bending the knees. Then bring the knees towards the chest and reach the hands in front of you. So maybe you can grab the shin bones, maybe you can grab the heels, maybe you can grab the outside of your feet. See what you can grab without creating stress on the shoulders. Wherever you are, try to bring the feet away from each other. So you're doing Gomukhasana on your back. And just give yourself a moment here. This is a deep outer hip stretch again. Getting all that drill of strengthening creates some tension. So this stretch is helping you to feel a little bit more support. You can also bring the hands so you are reaching on the other um, leg. It's almost like on top of your ankle on the outside, and you bring the feet away from each other, pulling in. Take one more breath in here. And then exhale, release, extending both legs all the way up. Let's try that on the other side. Cross your left leg on top of the right and then bend the knees. Hug the knee into the chest. And as you reach the hands forward, try to separate the feet away from each other. Just take a moment to just soften any tension on the neck, shoulders, or even the face. Just play with what feels better for you to place your hands as you separate the feet away from each other. Good, and then slowly release. Once again, hug the knees to the chest, rock side to side. And then we're gonna roll back and forth again. And we're gonna come into our comfortable seated. So I'm gonna remove my blocks. And as you come into your seat, I want you to extend that left leg and bend the right knee. So we're coming into Sirsasana here. So remove any extra flesh. And then we're gonna forward fold on top of that extended leg, right? And notice this is an external rotation of that right thigh. So make sure that right knee feels supported or heavy. You can place a block underneath or a blanket underneath. And as you twist your chest to that extended leg, give yourself a moment to feel the stretch of the lower back. Breathe in deeply. Now we're just gonna do that on the other side. So we're gonna extend that left, bend the left and extend the right. We're gonna come into our Sirsasana here. Once again, external rotation of that left knee. Rotating the chest so you can fold over that extended leg. And don't worry about how deep you go down. What matters is that you're feeling that external rotation on the left side of your hips. And we're stretching gently the back of your extended leg. Good, and then slowly walk the hands, come all the way up. We're just gonna do a little bit more of stretching of the hips. So I want you to face the front of your mat, like if you were going to do a pigeon pose on the left side, okay? But then that right leg is, instead of like extending it back into full pigeon, you're gonna open that right hip and bend that right knee forward. So you are bending both knees into a 90 degrees. So if you were to look at your hips, go straight to your knees and the knees down into the heel, you're building a 90 degree. And now we're going to twist the chest towards that front leg and we're gonna forward fold in here. So you can keep your hands extended or you can go into the elbows. It all depends on what you're looking for. I like to stay high on here because it gives me more space for my breath. But make sure you're doing what feels right in your body. And try to press the pelvis forward, especially that right hip forward, so you can feel the hip joints a little bit more engaged. One more breath. Good, and then slowly we're gonna interlace our fingers and without using our hands, we're gonna bring those knees all the way up And we're gonna go into the other direction in the front of our mat. If you need to adjust, if you need to use your hand, that's fine. We're just trying to be a little playful. So check that the hip, knee, and ankle are 90 degrees on both sides. And then we wanna press that opposite, the back hip, we wanna press it forward as you come and forward fold into that front thigh. Just let the breath help you to relax the body. One more breath in. And then as you exhale, come all the way up. And then once again, let's come back into our backs and hug the knees to the chest. So we're gonna extend that left leg right in front of you, and we're gonna extend that right leg all the way up towards the ceiling. We're gonna cross that right leg all the way to the left with that extended. So you're gonna use your upper arm as a tripod base with your hand. So you bring the leg to rest on your hand and kicking through the heel. Open your right arm out to the side. Now, if it feels okay and spacious, you can drop that foot all the way to the floor and just feeling that side stretch on the right side. Just give yourself a moment here to explore what feels right for you. Just stretching the IT band, spot of the hip. Of course, if you have a strap, you can use a strap, but ideally, you don't want to force the body. So just try to do what you can with what you have. Just breathing into the outer hip. Any tension you feel here, see if you can soften it with your exhale. And then slowly you're going to reach that right foot all the way up and then release it all the way down in front of you. And just simply notice here how it feels to be in your body, right versus left. And then we're going to extend that left leg all the way up. Prepare that right hand tripod to cross that left leg to the right. I have a wall right next to me, so I'm very take advantage of it, and I press my foot into the wall, but I feel still that side stretch of the leg, and then extending my left arm out. Just let it feel right, let it feel nourishing. Just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly bring that left leg all the way up. And then bend both knees into the chest for a moment and bring your hands on top of your knees. And you're going to move the knees in circles here. So in, out, and forward. Once again, just getting into the hip joints in here. Just let this feel like a nice gentle massage, not only for the lower back, but the hip sockets. Now we're gonna switch direction with the circle. So forward, out, in, and back. Just one more. And you guess it, we're gonna do happy baby. So we're gonna reach the heels up, separating the knees very wide, and reach the hands between the legs to grab the inside of your heels or the outside of your feet or even behind the knees. The idea is to pick the the heels up, and you're going to use your hand to pull the feet down so the thighs are closer to the floor as you kick the heels into the hand. Just give yourself here a moment to just maybe rock side to side and just breathe as you feel that stretch. One more inhale. And then fully exhale, release, bring the knees together. Very good. And we're gonna roll back and forth just a couple times. And we're gonna find our double pigeon. So double pigeon can be very challenging. So if you have a blanket or a block, go ahead and have it nearby. We're gonna start with the left leg. So we're gonna cross the left leg in front of you and try to bring that left hip knee a little bit more in. So that shin is parallel to the front of your mat. And then we're gonna mirror that on the other side. So heel to knee and knee to heel. And any gap is where you can use the block in between. Adjusting your seat bones and make sure your seat bones are anchored. So your shin bones are parallel to each other. So like you're doing this with your legs. And this is where the gap can feel a little bit intense. So if you have a big gap, you can bring it together like so. Okay? There is no wrong or right in here, no judgment. If your pose looks similar or different than mine, it's all good. We're all different and have different bodies. If you are naturally open on the hips and this pose doesn't feel much to you, which can happen, you just simply walk the hands in front of you to intensify a little bit of that sensation. But remember, we don't want to go 100%. I want you to go 60 to 50% because the other percentage, I want you to be able to soften and relax. Okay, so take a moment here for just a few rounds of breath. Wherever you are, just breathing into the outer hips, softening and breathing. And then we're gonna do that on the other side. So take one more breath in. Good, and then as you exhale, you can lean back and then switch. The top leg is now in the bottom and the bottom goes to the top. And my hips are cracking. So I'm usually more tight on the left. So I'm gonna be kind about it. I'm gonna let it kind of hover in there. And I'm just gonna use my breath to gently help me to soften. So remember that the shin bones are on top of each other, just like this with your legs, okay? So do the best you can. If you have any gaps, place a block or a blanket in between and flex your feet and just embrace this with kindness. This is a really intense pose for some, and if that's your case, then just be kind, just be patient, no judgment. In fact, I invite you to practice gratitude for your hips and everything they do, right? It's easy, always easy to complain or to judge. It takes a little bit more of awareness to find appreciation and acceptance, right? Take a couple more breaths in here. And slowly undo. Oh, and feel free to extend both legs right in front of you for a moment. And come into Paschimottanasana. So we're gonna extend the legs, lengthen through the spine, arms above the head. And we're gonna forward fold here. So scooping the belly, tilting the pelvis, right? Just give yourself a moment here to feel that stretch in the back of your legs. And then release and come into your back for full shavasana. I think we're ready to take a moment here, a brief moment. Just let the body feel the whole practice around the hips. So you're welcome to place a blanket on top of the hips if that feels more nourishing, or placing your hands right into it. Just let your feet roll out to the side, soften your legs. Breathing into the spaciousness of your hips as you relax the hips. Relax the core, the chest, the shoulders. And soften your neck, relax your face. Soften your hands and your arms. Feel your entire body supported here as you simply allow the breath to take you into a deeper state of relaxation. Whenever your mind wanders into distraction, just become aware of it and come back into relaxing your body. Feeling the hips, feeling the legs. Very gently start deepening the breath and moving your toes and your fingers. Then in your next breath in, reach the arms overhead and give yourself a long stretch. You can interlace the fingers and flip the palms and point your toes for a longer stretch. Then as you exhale, release the hands and hug the knees to your chest. Gently rock side to side. Keep your eyes closed. And then roll into your right side, and you can use your right arm as a pillow. Stay here for a brief moment to just acknowledge how you feel. Then gently press with your palm into the floor to come all the way into your comfortable seated. And let's get ready to close our practice. Just making sure your spine is nice and tall, your hands are relaxed, and the shoulders are relaxed. Bring your awareness into your hips and notice how they feel. Breathing into the joints. And always remember that these practices is about reconnecting to your body exactly as it is. We're just making the body to remember what it does intuitively. To feel an appreciation for everything that already does for you. It's a good way to honor yourself, knowing that you are already complete and then you are perfectly enough just as you are. Just bring your hands into your heart, resting one hand on top of the other. Notice your breath, notice your heart. And as you take your next inhale, develop a sense of gratitude for your practice and your commitment and your discipline to show up to your mat. and with a sense of compassion and kindness to yourself and others, we close this practice with gratitude. So thank you, thank you, thank you for practicing with me. I hope your hips feels happy and stay hydrated. And if you have any questions, always please let me know. I'm here for you. Thank you, thank you. Have a good day.